Hello, Scorpio, and welcome to Indigo Rising Tarot. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you're having a great day. This will be your weekly reading for the week of November 9th through the 15th. And during that time, we'll have a waning gibbous moon, and that's a good time for self-reflection and rebirth, a good time to make positive changes and get rid of bad habits, negative thinking, that sort of thing. Then we do move into the last quarter moon energy on the 13th, 14th, somewhere in there, depending on where you are. And that is a really good time for reflection, releasing what no longer serves us, and getting ready for new beginnings. We need to take responsibility for our past actions, during this past cycle, and kind of think about things that we want to change when we're, when the new cycle starts with the new moon. So that's what I'm trying to say. So please keep those moon energies in mind as we move through the week. This will be an intuitive general reading for the energies that you may or may not encounter, Scorpio. So as always, please take what resonates today and leave what doesn't on the table for someone else. And your overall message for this reading: a personal issue reaches resolution. Okay, let's see what the Scorpio collective has going on that's about to resolve, which is nice. I feel like that's kind of been a theme with all the readings, that those things are kind of wrapping up, like kind of the end of things for the entire collective. So very interesting. Once I get through a lot of the readings, I can sometimes start to see different themes with the entire collective take shape. So that's been very interesting to me as a reader. Reading here on YouTube, it's very different from reading one-on-one in person. So I'm learning things as I read for the collective as well. So all right. As my fun weekly reminder this week, Scorpio, is that you keep a spiritual journal. Sometimes we don't recognize the patterns that are evolving in our life when it comes to, the spiritual things that we're learning. So it is just my fun reminder this week that you keep a spiritual journal to keep track of things you're learning, maybe synchronicities that you're having, maybe angel numbers you're encountering, those types of things, different animals that you're seeing. And things that you're learning maybe at a tarot reading, books that you're reading, that sort of thing. So if you keep a spiritual journal, it can be an important tool as you're growing and looking back on the things that you've been learning. So that is just my fun weekly reminder for you. All right, let's get into this reading, Scorpio, November 9th through 15th. A personal issue reaches resolution, and your overall present energy right now is the Page of Pentacles. So some sort of new path for you in the material realm. This could be a financial path. This could be a new path when it comes to a new job. It could be a promotion within the job that you have. It could be that, some side gig that you do is starting to pay off, or you're starting something that will pay off eventually. So some sort of new path in the material realm could also mean something about your living situation, that you're either moving or upgrading, or even just fixing up. Maybe you're painting a house, maybe you're painting a room in your house. So it's just some kind of upgrade there in your material situation. Your current situation is the Hermit card. So while you're doing this, you're kind of keeping to yourself, kind of going within. If you are, dealing with some personal issue that you're dealing with, that's perfectly normal for you to be, a little bit hermited, maybe not as social. If you've got something going on that you're kind of working through the thoughts of, and I wish you luck with that. It's never a bad idea to go, don't, to go within and do that inner searching. You can find those answers within. Again, keeping a spiritual journal and even a regular journal when you're doing those hermiting times. Sometimes just writing things out can make things become more clear, and you can make sense of things. So it looks like you're going to spend some time in that hermiting mode this week, which is fine. We're kind of in that reflective time too, as that energy from the full moon dies down a little. At the root of your situation is some sort of ending here with the 10 of swords. So something that you're done with, and it could be something that you're just done with mentally, that you've learned something and you're like, I'm just not dealing with that anymore, I'm putting it down. So some sort of ending in that way. Some sort of communication ending. It could be that if you're like me, I know there was a time when I just stopped Facebooking. I was like, I'm done. I'm just done doing that. I just don't think it's good. I want to, if I'm communicating with people in my life, I want it to be in person in person or at least phone call. I just feel like I didn't like the way Facebook was moving us towards. So I was just done with it. And it could be that something that you decide that I'm not doing that anymore, which is fine. But that's kind of the root of your situation. It could have had something to do, like it could have been some personal issue, and you are done with it. And of course, you're going to be in hermit mode as you're kind of processing that. What is in your recent past is that, yeah, you were having a little stress and anxiety over it, and you finished it. So I like that. If you were stressing about something and you just decided to change how you're going to do that. I mean, look at this page of pentacles. This could have been stress over a job, and you left that job and you're moving on to a new job. I could read the cards that way. It could have been stress over a position that you had at your job, and so you decided to move to a different department. So that's totally reading in that way. It could be something having to do with your job. Again, it could have been that you didn't like the apartment that you were in. You were stressing about it. And so you moved to a new apartment, got rid of it, and now you're kind of dealing with everything that comes along with that. So many different ways. And I'm sure for different Scorpios, each of those situations, could be a thing. So, tarot is a template. It can template over a lot of different situations. So on your mind this week is a little bit of heartbreak here with the Three of Swords. So many swords. I mean, you are really in your head a lot. And of course, personal issue reaches resolution. You are going to resolve this, but it's been a lot of thinking. And of course, you're hermiting. I mean, it makes so much sense to me, going through all of those swords that I'm seeing in this reading. What is just ahead of you this week is the Devil card here. So you don't like that because that can just come to some negative thinking, negative mindset, and we really don't want that to come true. False truths, insecurities. This could be, kind of obsessing over this thing, and so maybe, with the other things that I'm seeing here, with all of these cards are definitely about mental and communication. Is that's really we just really don't want to see that guy this week. So hopefully we see something like the Temperance card maybe come out to kind of counter that this week. So just be very wary that some of those thoughts that you're having, again, if you want to use journal writing or whatever to get all of those things down on paper, some of those might not be you. Some of that might be some false truths that are coming in that really aren't correct. And it may take you some time to kind of pull back and detract from that and kind of, figure out which thoughts are true and which thoughts is kind of just a false sense of insecurity or fears that are coming in, right? Lack of confidence, that sort of thing. In your advice position, there you go. There's the Magician saying, look, what do you want? What is it that you want? This is a card of new awareness, and it's a card of after this ending and after all of this heartbreak and going within, you reach the point to where the Magician says, okay, what do you want to do? Where do you want to go? And which element would you like to choose there? Are you going to choose emotion or with the cups, or is this about the pentacles? You want to change, like I said, change where you live or change your job. That's another way to manage things. Change the things that you feel passionate about, or change your way of speaking or thinking. And it could be that you do pick up that sword and decide that you do want to change your way of thinking, because a lot of this seems to be definitely something that you're internalizing. So keep an eye on that. What is beyond your control this week are all the choices that you have to make here with the Seven of Cups. So in the middle of all of this stress and everything that's ending and going on, you do have a lot of choices to make. I mean, it does seem, again, thank goodness this thing is going to reach resolution this week. Whatever this is and the kind of chaos that you've been through, it looks like it does resolve up, and that's always a good thing. But you're definitely making a lot of different decisions. Again, get that pen and paper out. Make sure you're doing pros and cons, just to make sure that when you look back next week or the next few weeks, that you're like, okay, thank goodness I made that particular decision and thought that through a little bit. All right, what is your secret desire, or what you're trying to avoid, is the Seven of Swords. And so our Seven of Swords is our card of being cunning or crafty. It can also be the card of theft and hidden agenda. So are you trying to be crafty a little bit here? And you might have to be. I'm not saying that that's a negative thing, but you may want to hold, we've got all of these thoughts going on, and you may want to show the world a couple of those, but not quite all of them just yet. It's almost like like playing cards, you don't want to show all of your cards, and there may be a good reason for that. Or is this what you're trying to are you trying to avoid doing that, or is it your secret desire to do that? So there's really no right or wrong answer there, just for your own personal situation, whatever that might be. But just that'll be your big question: is, do I show all of my cards like this, and or am I trying to keep some things kind of private and personal to me? I will say now too that we have two sevens on the table, so you may want to look up angel number 77 and see if that has any bearing on your situation this week. In your outcome position is the card of rest and meditation. So I always see this paired up with the Hermit card. It's very much the same energy. It's very much going within, really thinking things through. But just look at all the swords in this entire reading, right? Just swords everywhere. And again, right at the your present situation does have something here to do with this Page of Pentacles. So that's something new. Again, new job. This could be new place to live. But you're making a lot of choices this week, so make sure that you're just making the right choices, because you're going in. It looks like it is very much about you, and you may turn around next week, find yourself in a completely different situation. But again, let's try to avoid this double, this false sense of things that aren't real. Don't, try to really fight the insecurities that come up, the fear of failure, the lack of confidence, because those are false things that come in, especially if you're trying to make big decisions like that. Just try to clear that out, and get in there and make the decisions that you need to do. What is hidden from you this week is the Two of Cups, which is the cup of this, or the card of coming together. This could be in friendship or relationship. This could have been some sort of relationship or friendship shakeup for you this week. Also, if you're comfortable sharing, of course, Scorpio, drop me a comment down below. Let me know what it is you guys are going through. But very interesting that I see both of these cards with two people on it. Some of you may be going through some sort of breakup, or even just kind of a split in a friendship situation. That's definitely, possibly in the cards for you. Again, let's try to avoid that Devil card and make sure you're paying more attention to this Magician card. All right, let's get a final word here from the Soul Oracle deck. Final message here for Scorpio, as they have this pretty intense week. But do remember, this is reaching resolution. You're kind of at the end. Whatever has been going on for you and stressing you out here, you're at the end of it. You've made a decision, it looks like, to end something, and you're moving forward now and just making the decisions. I think the next few weeks for you you're going to look back and just be glad that you did it. Final message here: work with devotion. So put your head down, get to work, whatever thing you're changing in your life. Just work hard at it. You're in hermit mode right now. It's not time to really be super social, because you have work to do. You have inner work, and it looks like maybe even outer work as well, and choices to make and things to decide on. And there will be time for that social activity here within the next week or two. All right, self-care for Scorpio this week. Okay, interesting that this card came up, because also I see this as another 2 card. It's the card that says reassess. You have the right to change your mind. So these decisions that you're making, don't worry, they can always be changed. And once again, I see this, I'm just seeing this too. You may want to look up angel number 222, just as an aside. See if that means anything for you, along with that 7-7. See if that makes sense. So Scorpio, thank you so much for being here with me today. I do hope there was something you can take away and use this week from this reading. If you're comfortable sharing, of course, let me know. What personal issue have you been resolving, and what is going on there? Did any of this make sense for you? Or if you have questions too, you can drop those in the comments, and I'd be happy to answer those for you. So thanks again for being here. Good luck with all of this, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.